know when to manage and know when to lead. Know when to manage and know when to lead. Both are important. You can't survive without both sets of skills, but know when to wear each hat. Also on the topic of leadership, I want to focus on relationships. I heard a lot of talks this morning, great talks. Some of them were more on the technical side, some of them were less, but they all had one thing in common. At their root, every conversation was about a relationship. It was about relationships with our business counterparts. It was about relationships within our own organization. With me there. Family first and work second. Family first and work second. One of my friends, Dr. Greg Sipes, has written a book. And that book is called Lead as You Live and Live as You Lead. It's discovering the 6 principles of uncommon sense for uncommon success. And I just want to read you the 5th principle in that book. The 5th principle of uncommon sense says that life is really only about relationships. Life is only about relationships. There's nothing, not even any medical treatment or technique, more important than health and healing than relationships. While we all readily acknowledge the importance of relationships in our lives, we may need to take a step back, reflect for a moment, and recognize that they are not just important, but they are the most important factor in our health and happiness. Your life and happiness, and thus your ability to be an effective leader, are all about relationships. Relationships are important in business and in our organization because they are important in every area of our life. Whatever the topic, governance, architecture, systems, data, relationships are important. This brings me to relevance principle number 9. The highest and best use of technology is to foster and strengthen relationships between people. That's where we start, and that's where we end. And we need to come back to that principle time and time again, because if we don't get that part right, it won't matter what kind of technology we bring to the table. So relevance principle number 9. Leadership is a journey. It starts at the core of your being. It's a path that sometimes you can choose, other times it will lead you where it will. Leadership isn't just a subject that you learn in the classroom either. There are just too many pieces that need to come together to form a good and effective leader. I think community is required to learn and practice the basics of leadership well. Community is required. Learning along with colleagues can be an effective and challenging way to become aware of your leadership skills. Sometimes we're just too busy with the task at hand to see how we're reflected in other people's eyes. We're too busy with that task at hand to see how we're reflected in other people's eyes. I think one of the best ways for IT people, if I can give a plug here, for IT people to learn leadership skills is through the SIM Regional Leadership Forum. So some of you may have attended that or may be involved with that. I think it's a wonderful program. So so focus on learning those leadership skills in community. The last thing before we do some thinking that I want to say about leadership is follow your passion. Follow your passion. That will lead you to relevance. People used to tell me all the time, Ron, you need to figure out what you're passionate about. And I never knew how to answer that question. Either I was passionate about everything or I was passionate about nothing, and I didn't know which one was. But I could never answer that question. Ron, what's your passion? Until I figured out, with the help of some great books by folks like Tom Rath and Marcus Buckingham and others, who talk about strengths and weaknesses, that a passion is simply a strength. It's one of your strength areas. If you're working on a task and it makes you more energized and you can't wait to do that, and time flies as you're doing it, that's a strength for you. That's a passion. Focus on those passions, and if you do that, you will be relevant. You can't help but be relevant if you focus on your passions. All right, I want to end soon. I want to end with 10 verbs for you to think about regarding leadership. And these are not all mine. I've modified this list. I got it from actually the Sim Regional Leadership Forum many, many years ago, 15 years ago, when I went through that program. And I've modified this list a bit over time but I want to bring these to your attention, and I want you to think about how you can use these kind of verbs in your own work. First one is grow. Grow, to increase in size by a natural process, to develop and reach maturity, to become capable of growth, to thrive. Learn, to gain knowledge, comprehension, or mastery through experience or study, to acquire experience of an ability or a skill, to become aware. Learn. Change, to cause to be different, to give a completely different form or appearance to transform, to lay aside, abandon, or leave for another, to switch, change. Challenge, to call to engagement in a contest, a fight, or a competition, to invite with defiance, to dare, to take exception to call into question, to dispute, to summon to action, effort, or use, to stimulate, challenge. Create, to cause to exist, to bring into being, to give rise to produce through artistic or imaginative effort. Create. Fix, to place securely, to make stable or firm, to secure to another, to put into a stable form, to direct steadily. Fix. Produce, to bring forth, to yield, to create by physical or mental effort, to cause to occur or exist, to give rise to, produce. Give, to place in the hands of, to pass, to accord or tender to another, to entrust to another, to endure the loss of, to sacrifice, to devote or apply completely. Give. Enjoy, to receive pleasure or satisfaction from. Enjoy. This last one is a little different. It might seem out of place in the business world. Sometimes this four-letter word, I recently read an article on love in the business world, the four-letter word can seem out of place, but still, it can be key to our motivation. And I define this here as recognizing potential. I define it as having patience, giving recognition, giving appreciation, showing true, honest appreciation to your colleagues and your business partners, to counsel, to show compassion, and to provide service. So relevance principle number 10, know your leadership verbs and live them. Know your leadership verbs and live them. Your verbs may not be my verbs, but know what your verbs are and live them out. So that indeed brings us to the end. You are the catalyst. You're the catalyst to make all of this happen. You've got the keys to relevance. It is a part and parcel of what you do as senior IT leaders. Take this message back and find your own relevance.